why would you spend that much on a V6? Why would you even care to spend that much money? That's ridiculous. You could have bought a nicer car. You could this and that. Trust me when I tell you guys this, I cannot tell you how excited I am to be making this video, because I'm being completely honest with you guys. I have not picked up the camera in over a month. And yes, I did post 2 videos last week, and if you guys haven't checked out those videos already, we ended up making custom carbon fiber one-of-one side skirts for the car, as well as a rear valence diffuser as well. And we also posted another video that was more a genuine, fun, and vibing video with the homies going to a car meet. And I highly recommend checking those videos out if you guys haven't already. But you guys aren't clicking on this video to me talk about the other videos. You guys are here to see how much I spent on the Mustang. After doing the calculations on this car, I was shocked to see how much I spent on this car overall, especially since it's just a baby little V6 Mustang. And the only way to find out is by watching to the very end of the video to see exactly how much we spent on each individual part. And we're gonna be going into the interior, we're gonna be going into the exterior, we're gonna be going into the suspension, as well as what I like to call my little garden snake, my engine. So I want you guys to leave in the comment section down below of exactly how much you think I spent overall on this car. And to start things off right, the very first area we're gonna be jumping right into is the interior of the car. Now this is probably one of my favorite parts of the car, because I'll be completely honest, I spend majority of my time just like you guys on the interior of your car. So I want this thing to look as best as it possibly can and feel as comfortable as it possibly can, because I keep it just basic as possible. Knowing me, I'm just gonna go lose my shit, because I'm just gonna be like, well, that just looks like everyone else's stuff. Oh, I don't really want that because this looks like this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I have this OCD about that because I just don't want to be like everyone else. So I try my best to kind of change it up in my liking, but also at the same time too, keep it to where it's as traditional and as easy as possible for me, but also give it the best look as it possibly can. Now, I have a cheat sheet on my phone of exactly all the prices that I've spent on this how much I spent on this interior of the car, as well as the exterior, the suspension, blah, blah, blah. One thing I forgot to bring up at the beginning of this video is that there are some things on this car that end up getting gifted to me for free, or I end up just having some gift card money, so I consider it technically as free, because I don't really look at it as I'm spending my own money. So going into the very first one, and that is the seats. We spent overall on the seats about $500. The seats alone, when I ended up getting these off Amazon, were about $300 to $375, and that wasn't including the brackets as well. And you also have to include, and this is optional if you want to, but you also want to make sure that you get the airbag resistor that goes into both seats, because if you don't get the airbag resistor, your airbag light's gonna be on all the time. And knowing me, that's gonna drive me absolutely fucking nuts if I see that light on, let alone the tire pressure light or the check engine light that seems to want to turn on whenever it feels like. If that's something that bothers you as well, like how it bothers me, I highly recommend getting it, and that's gonna probably add another $100 on top of that. But overall, we're gonna say the price of the seats were about $500 for everything. Next spot is gonna be the lights that I have on here. And you guys can't really see these in the daytime. The price we ended up spending on these lights were a whopping $12. And I know that sounds like a lot of money to some of you guys, but trust me, this is one of the best investments I could have made on the interior of this car, because I use it almost every single time I'm driving at night, and it really shines the interior of this car without having to use the dome lights. And speaking of the dome lights, I ended up spending about $15 on these overall as well, and this is probably one of the greatest things you can get for the interior of the car, because it shines so much better than that piss poor light that you would originally get from factory.
This is disgusting.
Because I've said in the previous videos already, the yellow light comes from the factory on that map light looks absolutely gross and horrendous, and it reminds me if it's like a boring ass reading light. Go ahead and upgrade to those white lights, and it's one of the best things you can get, trust me. And as I was telling you guys earlier about some of the things I ended up getting for free, and one of these things I actually got from Joe, and that was these gross ass looking carpets I have right now, because I haven't cleaned them in a while. But this is something that I believe is around $100 online. And one of the most obvious things on the interior of the car, if you guys haven't already noticed already, is all the carbon fiber all over the interior of this car. This is like 50 bucks for the whole dash. This was like 25. This was like another like 15. And then like it just all adds up to equivalent to around $150 overall. Another great part on this car I keep jumping over is the Alcantara steering wheel on here, because the original steering wheel that came on the car, this is actually it.
Sure, I don't know, why not?
I just did a little bit of modifying on it, and trust me, from a far view, it looks great, but as you get closer, there are some imperfections and some of the shit I tried making myself, and it could have looked a lot better. But Mustang owners out there that really understand this, you get a lot of wear and tear on the top where you keep grabbing your hand whenever it comes to steering, so you start seeing like all that like clear coat or some sort coming off, especially at the bottoms, the sides, whatever. So my best way of doing this was by wrapping this in Alcantara, and I felt like that was one of the great ways to be able to upgrade the steering wheel cheaply for $12. Now I gotta go jump over to my phone because my camera got too hot, so you might be seeing a little bit of mixes here and there where the audio quality might change, or even the picture quality might change a little bit. And the very last part I was gonna talk about in the interior of this car that I think a lot of you guys want for your car, and I've seen a lot of people watch this video on my channel, and that is getting the Phoenix Automotive radio system. I absolutely adore, and I mean like adore this radio system, because it looks so much better than that big ass calculator that came from factory on here. Because anybody who knows that, don't get me wrong, it is a great radio from factory. It does everything you need it to do. It doesn't cause you any problems, with the exception of maybe it just goes bad. I've seen some people have to deal with, which I didn't have that issue, but this one just is 10 times better. It stays up to the quality and also the technology of today's age, and it doesn't have like the CD players, all that other crap that you just don't need. The system is probably the greatest thing you can get for the interior of the car, over the seats, the carbon, the steering wheel thing, these stupid white lights up here. Like, the radio really is just something you're gonna use every single day. And the total price that we spent overall in the interior of the car, through all the parts I just listed, and probably more than likely there's more that I end up missing just talking about in this video, we spent a whopping $1,089 alone on the interior of this car. So to jump into what this rental car really's got, we're gonna be going right into this little garden snake I was telling you guys about earlier, and that is the engine bay. Believe it or not, the very first thing I ever put on my car, with the exception of the wheels, was a cold air intake. And I really enjoy this cold air intake because it felt like it gave it a little bit better throttle response, as well as gave it a little bit more of it like that whooshy swishy sound or whatever it does whenever you're pushing on the gas. And that's one of my favorite things, is hearing the induction noise on the car, because it makes me really feel like I'm getting not just exhaust tones, but I'm also getting the engine tones as well. And this is around $250. And moving up to one of the most stupidest purchases I probably could have ever made on this car, but it was one of my most favorite purchases, was this $50 throttle body spacer that I ended up getting off eBay. Glad I was able to get the cold air intake as well as the throttle body spacer, and they work very well together. And since we're already talking about some noise, I'm just going to add this all completely all together, because I don't want to keep listing every single individual part. So we ended up getting DNA shorty headers off Amazon, as well as a custom H-pipe, and we also have some exhaust cutouts in the back end of the car, as well as the exhaust that we have on this car from Flowmaster. And that overall came to a crazy amount of $1,270. Now, I know exactly what a lot of you guys are thinking. You guys are probably telling me like, bro, why the hell would you spend $1,200 on an exhaust for a V6? Like, it is a V6. You could put that money into a 5.0. I know. But the thing is, though, this is my daily driver, and this is something I can't really have time to go put down to the side and just go like yank out the motor or go yank out the exhaust or whatever the case may be, in order to make this thing exactly how I like it. But for the meantime, this is my car. I enjoy doing every little thing to it, and one day I will get tired of it and I will change a lot of this stuff up. But overall, though, I'm really happy that I ended up spending that $1,270 or whatever it was on the exhaust, because it makes me enjoy this car that much more. And with all that being said, with the induction noise and the exhaust and all that other crap, two other cool things I really love on this car is the pedal commander that I actually have set up right over here on the front of my steering wheel, so I can adjust it how I like it, from Eco to City to Sport and Sport Plus. And we also right now have a Diablo i3 tune on the car that goes hand in hand very well with that pedal commander. And it's not the fastest car in the world. I'm not making it the fastest car in the world. This is more of just like a track car to have fun with, and we're gonna be jumping right into that in a little bit here shortly. But overall, the feeling of this and the power that it has behind it is not bad at all for what it is for being a V6. And the total price we spent overall on all those things I just listed was $2,170. And yes, I know that is a crazy number, and so when I saw that, I was like, I really spent that much on a V6. We can't go anywhere but forward from this point, so if we look backwards, all we're gonna do is be fucking with our neck at this point. But other than that, though, we go from the interior, we went to the engine bay. Now the next thing we're gonna be talking about is what everybody sees, and that is the exterior of the car. First thing we end up going with was the Roush front lip that we end up painting white to go right hand in hand with the Amazon rods. We made a custom front splitter that out of 1/4 inch ABS plastic, and we got these free scrape guards that were made out of Century board that I ended up just making at my job because I like the look of it and I just didn't want to scrape up the front lip. We also added some 1/16 ABS plastic on that, and if you guys are interested more in this front end, I do have a video that I'm gonna be posting in a link up above. And we ended up spending overall on that whole front end, along with the hardware as well, was $520. And what really complements the front splitter is also this grill as well, and this is one of those things I ended up getting for free too, because I ended up getting this as a Christmas gift. But if you look at this online, I believe it's in the range of like $250. And moving down to the side marker lights, these things shine bright white at night, and they're about $15 I ended up getting off Amazon, and they work very well. The total price of this front end wasn't as bad as I originally thought, and it came to a total price of $625. And that's not including like the labor price and all these other features I also talked about earlier of just doing the things myself. And as we're walking to the rear end of the car, is actually the part of the car I actually dislike the most. It used to be my favorite part of the car, but ever since I started building up that front end and making it just that much more aggressive, this kind of just lost its fame and value to me personally. We're not going to be talking about my little personal feelings, But this is the first thing I'm gonna be jumping into because this is the first thing that just came to my mind, is a carbon fiber rear license plate frame that goes on the car. That one was another gift as well that I ended up getting from Joe. I also have a video for that as well if you guys want to check that out. We did a whole install on this because you end up getting rid of that hamburger grill, that waffle maker that originally sits over where the license plate frame would be. But this wing was the third thing I think, or the fourth thing I ever got in this car, but it really just makes the rear end that more aggressive, and without it, I really don't think I would like this car at all. I spent at least $200 on this wing. That's not including the wrap. And a great addition along with the spoiler as well is this carbon fiber Gurney flap that I don't know if they make anymore. I've had a lot of people ask me about where I got this thing, and I actually got this off CJ Pony Parts, and it took me 6 months to get because they were on back order. So I'm assuming they don't really make these things anymore. So I ended up getting this for around $100 because there were some deals going on. I don't know why I keep smacking my car, but it just seems like every time I touch something, I'm smacking it. And I end up getting these cleared Euro style taillights, which is probably the coolest thing out of everything on this car in my opinion, because it just makes the car look so unique, not having those red taillights or even those big plastic cover ones that you see on some of the older model year Mustangs. But those clear taillights are so cool to me. I wish they would have came like that from factory in the United States. But other than that though, those taillights were around $550 and I overpaid on them because I really wanted them that bad. You could probably find them right now for around $500. But in the sake of this video, I spent around $550 because that California state tax is stupid ridiculous. It also goes right in between the two taillights. You could probably guess it right here, is this Decklid. This Decklid though really cleans up the rear end of the car because not having that big emblem right here, it gives it that more of a cleaner look in my opinion. It doesn't make everything look so bulgy. This was around $220. That required a little bit of cutting over on the trunk. We also have a video for that as well if you guys are interested in watching that video. But since we have everything wrapped up over in the rear end, there's also two or three more pieces I forgot to bring up as well. And we end up also having a rear diffuser on the car. So I like to consider that as free because I just had some extra material laying around. But what was not free though, on the other hand, was having this spoiler up here, which has gone up in value since I bought it. Because I got a lot of hate on this at first. Everyone was thinking like, oh, that looks gross in the back end of the car. Why would you put another wing on there? It just looks stupid. Like it looks like a bookshelf. But I like this so much more than that little cheese grater that people put on the back of their windows. No knocking on anybody who has one. It's just not for me though. The thing was around $80 and I think right now it's like around $120 on Amazon. But the total price on this rear end alone was $1,150. And you gotta also remember too, the Decklid wasn't even something I had to pay for, or even the rear diffuser, or these pieces right here that I custom made myself. And we also talked about this at the beginning of the video, the carbon fiber rear valence diffuser on the car. Imagine if I ended up buying those online, we could have probably talked about a couple $100 more spent on just the rear end alone. This is the part where most people pay attention to, with the exception of maybe the front end. But we spent a price of $1,200 on the wheels, as you guys could probably expect, which wasn't really a bad price at all. These were one of the first few things I ended up getting on the car. As I mentioned earlier, they're not the best looking wheels in the world, but for what it is, I'm happy to say that these are on the car and they're in black and they go really well with the white in my opinion. And what you can see right behind it is calipers that are red and they look like complete shit at the moment. And we actually have an upgrade for those that are coming here in a couple months, couple years. I don't know when, but it's just part of the build process when that time comes, and you guys will see. Trust me, when that build time comes, you guys will understand when it's starting. But other than that, those brakes cost me around $15 in paint, which we also have some R1 concept rotors, which looks really well in my opinion with the red calipers, and those cost me around $300. The side skirts I end up, again, we talked about earlier in this video, I made these for free, with the exception of maybe even the carbon fiber that was around probably you could say $200. And this right here goes really well with the side skirt, which is actually built specifically for this mud flap that I built over on the side over on where the rear quarter panel is, because I wanted this wide enough to where this lined up perfectly as best as I possibly can with the rear diffuser, so it can just cut in the front. And that piece right there, as well as this mirror guard that we end up custom making, as well as these front pieces that we talked about earlier, accumulated all to around $40. And the very last thing on the side of the car that I ended up wanting to bring up as well, that I ended up getting this as a gift as well. And thinking about it now, I had a lot of gifts for this car, but I'm not complaining about it. This right here I got for my birthday about 2 years ago, and these are like the little mirror rain guard things that go on the side of your window. Now, these aren't the best things in the world, and the reason I say that is because if you don't put them on right, then it's gonna make every time that you open your door, you're gonna hear a little bit of a scrape, unless you wanna sand it down or if you wanna move it in a certain way. Just sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain in the ass, but overall, it's a really cool fit to add on your car because you don't see too many Mustangs have those pieces over on the side of the windows. The total price of the, is that a bug? Oh shit, that scared the fuck out of me. And we spent a total price of $2,415 just on the side of the car alone. Now to the very last area of this video that we're gonna be talking about was an area I've been just trying to dodge a bullet for this entire time and not really looking forward to it, because that's where we're talking about is the underside of the car, and the area where I really don't want to put the camera in or try to crawl under, which I'm going to try my best to avoid. But if you guys haven't realized already, the car is lowered on some Raceland coilovers, and we spent around $630 overall with a lifetime warranty to lower this car. And what works extremely well with these coilovers is the rear sway bar as well as the front sway bar that we have on this car. We have a front RTR SwayBar in the front of the car, and we have a Steeder rear sway bar in the rear. I'm gonna go big or I'm gonna go home. I got the biggest part I could possibly find, and it has not disappointed me whatsoever, and neither has the front. Sway bars were around $550, so we went from coilovers that were $630, sway bars that were around $550. And the next thing we're gonna be jumping into is the rear lower control arms on the car that I got from UMI, and those things are around $100. They're like a box style lower control arm, and they work really well, especially if you have wheel hop or if you're just trying to take sharp turns like how I love doing all the time. As you go under the car, you'll see I have a UMI Panhard bar, which is that little silver nut in the middle. And also right above that is a BMR Panhard bar brace. And overall, those two prices are around $200 for both of those pieces, which they work just so well with one another, from the sway bars to the coilovers, to the Panhard bar brace, the lower control arms. Everything just links so well with one another, and it really makes this car grip to the ground as best as it possibly can. Now this next part is something I don't really consider it being under the car, but it works really well with the underside components of the car, so I'm going to include it in this section, and that is the front and rear strut tower braces. And those were overall around $200. I might be wrong, hold on. $250, so I was off by $50. I really noticed a big difference when it came to getting those two pieces, not only from just the front, because I just had the front for a long time, then the moment I switched over to that rear, I felt a lot of that fishtailing going away. And having that front strut tower brace really eliminates a lot of that body roll I just said earlier, and I'm really happy to have all these components work together all in one. Also, another component on this car that I ended up getting for free, and I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to get a good lick on it, but it's that one piece all the way in the back over there. You can kind of see it a little bit. It's all covered in oil and shit. It's that little red bar that goes all the way across under the transmission. But overall, the whole total price that we spent on the underside of the car was $1,730. So that means we covered every single area on this car from front to back of exactly how much we spent overall. So that means that we're gonna go into the absolute total price of everything that was spent. So the grand total price that we spent overall on this car over a 5-year period. Now thinking about it now, I didn't talk about the 10. But the grand total that we spent overall on this car, and it's about $9,179. Now, I guarantee at the end of this video, if a lot of you guys are even staying until the end of this, or even just skip to the very end, you guys are probably saying, why would you spend that much on a V6? Why would you even care to spend that much money? That's ridiculous. You could have bought a nicer car. You could this and that. I don't care. I just wanted to make this video because I felt like there's a lot of you guys out there who want to get certain mods for your car. Let's see, there's certain things on this car that I have that you found a lot of interest in, and we're curious how much some of these things would cost if you were to jump into one area to another, to the next, to the next. So I'm hoping that this video kind of helped you guys a little bit of exactly how much you're planning on spending on your car overall, if you want to look in a very similar way, if not exactly the same. If you want to go from the engine bay, if you want to go from the exterior, if you want to go to the interior, or even the rear end of the car, or even the suspension areas, which I highly recommend working on first, because the suspension areas on the car will really just drastically change how this car feels, and it'll feel like a brand new car, if not better, from factory. But overall though, I really hope this video helps some of you guys out there that are looking to spend a lot of money on your car, or even just a little bit of money, or even start to see where you can start first when it comes to building your car. So other than that though, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a fat thumbs up and leave me down any questions you guys might have in the comment section. It was glad to be back with you guys once more, and I will see you guys in the next one.